Warning.
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 Warning. You are entering into the unplugged mind of Paul Clough. Too late. Personal Development Unplugged.
Hey, my friend. Are you like me? When I say we all like to change bad reactions, bad behaviours. And I say bad, they're just not ones that we want to keep anymore. For me, well, this is one of them for me, was snapping at people. Things would happen. And before I knew it, bang, I'd snap. And it wasn't nice. And the result was not good. You can imagine if someone says something and you snap at them and then they snap back, and at the end of it, things didn't go well. And then when I got to be by myself, I felt like shit. Because I knew it wasn't right. And also it wasn't really me. Well, it was me, but it wasn't the me that I wanted to be. Now, I could explore this, knowing, with my background, NLP, hypnosis, therapy. I could explore it and find the core. But I didn't want to. I just didn't. I wanted to go straight into a process for myself to change it, because I know you could. And the thing is, I knew that it was something from my unconscious mind, because it was unconscious. It was a snap reaction. I didn't consciously think I'm going to be snappy. And that snappy went into like hurtful things and things like that. It was very personal, by the way. But I knew my unconscious mind was trying to protect me. And it was like a default thing now. We think of fight and flight. But this was without the flight. It was just fight for no bloody reason. Well, there was a reason. But that reason had gone by its sell date. I'll say that again. Gone by its sell by date. It's gone past it. And I didn't need that type of protection. And not to be protected by those people who I snapped at. Because they weren't attacking me. It's just that I couldn't control it. It was unconscious. And the thing is, it had become a habit. And a habit that was not a good one. So I wanted to change it. And that was the key. Or this is two of the keys. One is obviously recognizing that I needed help because it wasn't a good one. So I really needed help. And I also knew that my unconscious mind was trying to help me. It had a positive intention. It was trying to protect me. So I didn't want to fight my unconscious mind. Because that does no good. We lose. But I wanted to help it adapt, because consciously I knew how it felt, and if it didn't feel good, it ain't bloody working, is it? So, piano please. So the how Cloughie can we change this, you ask? And it seems daft. But I always do this first. If I'm doing any change work, and I do change work with clients, first of all, we need to thank your best friend, your unconscious mind, for doing that stuff. Not the bit you didn't like, but doing it with that wonderful positive intention to try to do something for you positively. For me, it was mainly protection, but it was for me to protect me, to kickstart that fight and flight. Always there. It was always there. So I acknowledged it. Always acknowledge it. Thanks. Just go inside and go, thanks, mate. You're doing your best. And knowing that it doesn't feel good, and your unconscious mind knows that because there's always eavesdropping on what you're talking about. It just didn't feel good. It doesn't feel right because I felt like shit after, and I shouldn't feel like that. If I'd been reacting in the right way, I shouldn't feel that way. I felt guilty, felt ashamed, felt angry. All those negative emotions that are secondary emotions that were just, they weren't doing me any good, were they? Then they were causing anxiety. Plus I had to go and apologise. All that stuff. So I said to my unconscious mind, thanks so much for doing that. But here's the thing. Why don't we find a better way? Because this way is no longer working. It's a conversation you have. That's all it is. It's that type of conversation. Say it out loud, say it inside with your internal voice, but it's no longer working. I appreciate what you're trying to do for me, but can we find a better way? Now, you know in your heart there's got to be a better way, because if this is not working and you know you can react differently, you certainly know how you want to feel after. You want to feel connected or whatever. You want to feel good. You want to feel comfortable. You want to feel safe. And they were all the things I wasn't feeling. And the thing is, because it was no longer working, I could tell because one thing, it wasn't feeling good, but it was causing more harm than the good it was trying to protect me from. Now, the process I dived into is one I use with clients. And I tend to use it with clients in trance. But I learned to do this process in trance or out of trance. Either way works. I love working, obviously, in trance because I love bloody hypnosis. And I get to talk to the unconscious mind, and it's normally with a client. So I'm talking to their unconscious mind, and that works better for me. That's what hypnotherapy is about, I guess. But this was the very first process I learnt when I started my hypnosis adventure. I didn't realise at the time that it was also an NLP process. I was taught by this lovely guy called As If. As If. I always remember that because in NLP we act as if. And he acted so wonderfully friendly. He was a great mate at that time. So if he ever listens to this, thank you, As If. You set the ball rolling. But anyway, what was this process I learned? What was the process I did to change? Well, I want to do it consciously. So would you like to do it with me? Because you probably have a behaviour or two you'd like to change, wouldn't you? Maybe a bit like me, snapping. You know, you didn't like that, the way you reacted. Think of something like that. Now, we know, you want a better way. So, here's the thing. First thing to think about is, and if you've got a piece of paper and a pen, it'll be good, or a pencil. Coloured crayon if you're that way inclined. But think of this though. And the only reason I say write it down is because then when we move on, there's 3 steps. Or maybe 4 or 5. Maybe 6. Who knows? But there's a few steps, and sometimes writing this down means you don't forget it. I want you to remember. So here's the first thing to remember and to recall. What would be a better belief to have? Now, I don't know what your belief is, or I didn't know what my belief was when I was snapping, but I didn't care. I just wanted a better belief because I knew whatever belief that was, it wasn't working. So what I thought was, what would be a better belief to hold if I could? And what I came up with was, get your words right, Cluffy, was, I'm okay. It's just words. They're just words. I thought, hey, that's it. It doesn't have to be these wonderful things, your affirmations. No, I'm okay. They're just words. Yeah, I could take that one on. So I wrote down, I'm okay. It's just words. They're just words. And it came from, where did that come from though? You see, consciously, I think it came from my conscious mind. But I've already asked my unconscious mind, can we find a better way? And I think that whatever you think tends to come from the unconscious mind. That's just my belief, because they're just words. So that was a good belief I thought I'd have. Yeah, certainly be good, wouldn't it? Instead of snapping, realizing I'm okay. They're just words, it's just words. Because I'm okay, I'm safe. And that's just a belief. Awesome. Now, what was the second step? Well, I wanted to think of what emotions could I use instead of the old ones. And again, I didn't really want to explore the emotions that I was using, which was like anger. I didn't want to go through that. I just thought, well, what would be good ones to have in that scenario, in that context? And I had a little think. And I thought, well, calmness might be quite good. And if I think of calmness right now, I can feel calmed. And when I feel calm, I feel quite grounded, I thought. So I put the two together, calmness and grounded. Because if I was calm and grounded, I wouldn't be able to react like that old way. Be a lot better, wouldn't it? But I wanted 3, so I thought, let's think of another one. Think of another. And I thought, curiosity. To be curious. Because when you're curious, it's as if you step outside your body a little bit, isn't it? Because you're thinking about what is happening outside and not inside. And the curiosity lends its way to something like, well, what's really behind this? What's really behind what's being said? Because sometimes I was taking it as an affront, an attack. And sometimes it was just a simple question. I realise that now when I look back at those bloody situations, but at the time I thought it was an attack. So being curious, what's really being said? That would have been a better emotion to have, wouldn't it? Curiosity. It's also like a behaviour, but you have to feel curious first before you can behave curious, I guess. And what was another one? I wanted 3, you see. I like 3s. And I thought, what would happen if I had like a connection? If I could keep that connection with people. Because then, if I had a connection, a good connection, I thought, what would that mean? It would mean I'd be at peace. I'd be at peace with this. Because if I found out through my curiosity what's really being said, and I was calm and grounded, bloody hell. Awesome, wasn't it? So, in some ways, whilst I've found 3 different emotions, I've even thought about how they would change my behaviour. But then I thought to myself, this is the process where I also want to think about how I'd like to behave differently. New behaviours, better behaviours. Because they've got to be better. No point in doing... Your unconscious mind is not going to take on a new behaviour if it's worse than the one that it's using, will it? What would be the point? So I thought to myself, well, what do I know? What have I heard? What have I think? What have I learned about any of this? And it jumped into my mind. It said, Cluffy, you always talk about pausing first. You know that's right, and you've heard it through other people, like taking a 2-second breath. Talked about that a little while ago, how that can just put you in the right state. State is an emotion, and the emotion is connected to that belief, I guess, or supported by it. So, yeah, I thought that's a good alternative, because that's one thing I wasn't doing, was it? I was snapping, and snapping is, boom, I was at it. So pausing. before reacting. Taking a breath, 2 seconds. That would be good. Now I thought, well, that's a good one, but what else? What else would be good? And I thought, well, what would happen if I just listened, but listened with an inner smile? And that seemed to work with me, because listening is a behavior. It goes with that pausing, but also listening with an inner smile gave me another type of emotion. And the inner smile, in some ways, gave me connection and made me calm. So you can see how they're interlinking now. I didn't at the time, by the way. I'm only recognizing it now as I'm looking at some of the notes I made. Because I write things down. Write that sucker down. We've talked about that so many times. But that's only 2, remember? I've got pausing, listening with an inner smile. What could be a third one? And I thought, be inquisitive. Behave. From that listening, be inquisitive. What do they really want? What's going on behind this? Oh, that's like curiosity, isn't it? Curiosity, inquisitive. So I'm not just feeling curious, I'm actually being inquisitive. I'm asking, the behavior of asking. What is it you really want? This is the way I understand it. Am I getting it right? You said this, but is that really what you mean? Or this is the meaning I get. Have I got it completely around my neck? But you can see how, they tend to work. So I've got a new belief. Yeah, do you remember that one? I'm okay. It's just words. That's all it is, just words. They're just words. I've got my 3 emotions: calmness, curiosity, connection, which is like grounded, understanding what's really being said, and being at peace with this. Then my new 3 behaviors: pausing, 2 seconds, taking a breath, listening with an inner smile and being inquisitive, actively asking after actively listening. Shit, this is so bloody common sense, isn't it? But isn't that like common sense? Isn't that common? And these answers are hiding in plain bloody sight. And they always are, by the way. If it's complicated, it's probably complicated. And complicated is too complicated. So we break them down to the easy, manageable steps, simple steps. Doesn't make it, when they're easy and simple, you still have to do them. So it takes effort. We know that. But they're not difficult. Just the effort to do this thing. So how do you put these into your unconscious mind? Well, we said before, your unconscious mind is always listening, and listening with all its senses. So if you were to imagine a new scene, it would have to watch, wouldn't it? Watch with you. You could imagine it happening. So what you think of is well, let's take the next 7 days. Because for me, this wasn't happening once a month. It was happening most days, which is what, and sometimes more than once in a day, which is really pissing me off. It was pissing other people off, by the way, big time, which then, made me feel guilty and ashamed and all that stuff. Not good things. So I thought, okay, if this type of reaction, this behavior, the old behavior, by the way, was to happen in the next 7 days, let's imagine it happening, but using and accessing that new belief. I'm okay, it's just words. Just one of those new emotions, and just one of those new behaviors, those better behaviors. Only one of each. You're not, again, simple, simple, simple. We're not trying to make a bloody recipe. Just the 3 simple things. So, what would happen? Now you can do this with me if you like. Just remember, if you're going to close your eyes, it's not hypnosis. Like I said, it's not doing hypnosis, but going inside is a little bit, and if you're closing your eyes, You don't want to be walking, do you? You don't want to be doing anything. You don't need anything that needs your attention. You know that. I have to say that. I'm a therapist, but you're a therapist. But this is so positive. So, if you were to close your eyes right now and imagine sometime in the next 7 days, not that it would happen, but if it did happen, that old situation, imagine now, instead of the old way, you have that wonderful belief. For me, I'm okay. It's just words. These are just words. And then I was calm. So I got to feel calm. And I paused. I took a breath and paused. And then I said something. And I noticed in my imagination, I said something totally different than what I would have said in the past, or what I had said in the past. And I said something like, I don't understand, or can you help me? I don't know what it was, but I just said something that just diffused the situation. And I thought, wow, that is so different. And how do I feel now? Well, I feel good. And if I played out in my imagination the result of me being like that, everything was so much different. Everything was so much nicer. I know nice is a nice word, but it was so different. And guess what? I got connected. And guess what? I felt peace with that. And I listened. And I felt that in as well. They all seemed to come together. It's weird. And that was it. And I say into my unconscious mind, I think this is a better way, isn't it? I feel better. I wasn't attacked. And then if I was being attacked, I'd find out about what that person meant, because they're just words, get what's behind it. And it would have been different as well, because I didn't have to fight it. It wasn't a fight or flight situation, was it? Not as in the past. You, my best friend, was protecting me with fight and flight, but it wasn't that situation. And now we've found a better way. And I always like to finish off with these words, to my best friend. Well, what about this or something better? Would it be okay to use these new ways in place of the old ways? Because they work better. And then I thought, well, I like threes, don't I? I like threes. Apart from the belief, you can have a set of beliefs, but I like one belief and then threes of everything else. So I thought, well, let's do that a couple more times. Let's imagine if it happened in the next 7 days, but in a different way, because they do, and it did. Different situation, but the same in the past, the same old reaction. And I imagined something like that happening in the future. I don't put a day or a time on it, but sometime in the next 7 days, not that it would happen. I always say to myself, not that it would happen, but if it did, and I'd remember that belief, I'm okay. Just words, these are just words. And then I'd let's pick curiosity. Let's be curious. And with that state of curiosity, I'm going to listen and have that inner smile. That's that new behavior. Oh, I could see myself being different. Certainly felt different. Even in my imagination, I felt, because I was in that scene again. I'd actually made that scene in my mind. I was in it. I wasn't watching it. I was in it this time. And when I listened, it allowed me to carry on doing different things. And guess what? I got inquisitive. I got to question. And I wasn't rushing. It's as if I was naturally pausing. And because I was actively listening, I wasn't reacting. Certainly reacting the older. My reaction was to listen. And because I had an inner smile, do you know what? That feeling seemed to create a connection with that person. And again, a different result, a better result. They saw something better. What would it be like if we use these new ways in place of the old ways? Anyway, threes. Remember threes. So I did it again. Imagine if something happened from the past in the next 7 days. Not that it would, but if it did, what would happen if I use that? This is an old belief now. Not the new belief. It's called an old belief because I've done it twice. I'm okay. It's just words. They're just words. And I just picked another behavior and another emotion. Try to get connection. Just be at peace. Let things happen. And being at peace and looking for the connection, I was pausing. I was breathing differently. And being at peace, and because I had that connection, it was if I was getting to understand what was really going on, what was going behind this, because I then asked, and I don't know if I'm getting this right, but you seem upset. And this isn't the type of thing to get upset by. Are you upset by something different? What have I done? And I tend to find out it wasn't me, which was a bit of a lifesaver. Sometimes it was, by the way. But a lot of the times it wasn't me. It was just, they had their own shit and it was coming out on me. And once I just asked, things just diffuse itself. This or something better. You, my best friend, would it be okay to use these new ways in place of the old ways? And you get a good feeling, which is, to me, is like your unconscious mind going, yeah, Cluffy, I think this is a better way. And here's what I do then. I say to my unconscious mind, I pick the belief that I think came from you. I picked 3 emotions, and they were conscious. And I wrote them down. And I picked 3 behaviours I thought would be better. But you, my unconscious mind, you have a bucket full of positive emotions. You have a bucket full of positive behaviours that you know work from past experience. Would it be okay to be able to access them as well? Because if you could find an even better emotion, a better behaviour than the 3 that I picked, would it be okay to use them and more? Replace the old ways with these new ways. Keep the intention. And that's the thing you always remind your unconscious mind. I want that intention. I want to keep safe, because if there is any ever time that I need to fight or I need to flee, you've still got that in your repertoire. But at the moment, we've got these wonderful new behaviours. The intention stays, I want you to keep me safe. And then what you do, you let it go. Feels good. And if you wanted to, every now and again, if you want to help your unconscious mind to remember, rinse and repeat, do it again. You can go back to these original 3 new emotions and behaviours, or you can add more in, or if you get a different situation, you can do this as well, because it just works. And the result is, and I wrote in capital letters, boom. And you're working with your unconscious mind. And that's this is like an alignment. Because when you're behaving in a way that doesn't feel good, it means you're out of alignment. You're not being congruent to who you really are. You're not in, don't call it balance, but you're not in harmony. Because harmony is that flow between your emotions, your behaviours, and feeling good. Feeling comfortable. Because when you feel comfortable, you feel safe. And when you feel comfortable, you can do anything. Because you've got your unconscious mind, it's got your back. They've always got your back. Your best friend has your back for every breath that you take. And then you can just feel grateful. Yeah. So that's it. That's what we did. Or that's what I did. Change the behaviour. And sometimes I do find that, I'm not going to say it works 100% all the time, but I find it's like a work in progress. Sometimes I have to revisit it and just help my unconscious mind change and remind it there's better ways. That's what happens. But the more I do that, the more it becomes a habit in place of the old habit, these new ways, and then your new norm. But life just gets better because it's all positive. So what did we do very quickly? We acknowledged that things aren't quite right. We acknowledged the intention. We asked, could we find a better way? Thought of a wonderful, supporting, positive belief. We thought of emotions that would be better than the old ones. And emotions are they're readily available. But we also always say about the behaviours, when we think of new behaviours, to have them readily available, so you don't have to learn a skill to be able to use them. And they have to be healthy. Because what you don't want is, I'll start taking up alcohol, drinking, drugs and all that stuff. Alcohol and drinking is the same thing, isn't it? Yeah. But alcohol, drugs and anything negative. So they've got to be healthy alternatives because they're better behaviours. But once you get that in mind, that was just like a little post note. We just get on and create the life we really want. The life that we're deserve making on this little old planet to make a difference. But to make a difference by being who we really are. There you go. Hope you enjoyed that. Did it make sense? Did it make sense? For those who want to know what that process was, it's called a 6-step reframe. That's what we call it in NLP. Some people don't use it anymore, but it just simply bloody works. As long as they're healthy and you get your whole of your unconscious mind, coming and committing to that, not just parts. Okay, that's it from me. Hope you enjoyed it. Longer podcast. I think I've gone on a bit again, but it's so good. So good. Maybe I'll do this in a hypnosis track again, but we'll see. We'll see. If you want any more information about that or any NLP processes or hypnotic processes, or if you have an issue that you'd like me to dive into to help you to create something different in your life positively. Remember, I'm a therapist, but not your therapist, but I can find things that will allow, which will guide you and help you, because that's what I'm here for. That's my little mission. And it's coming clearer to me every day. So please do that. How do you do that? You email me, feedback@personaldevelopmentunplugged.com. If you want some hypnosis tracks, I've got 70 of the buggers. They're all complimentary. Where'd you get them from, Cluffy? You get them from paulcloughonline.com/podcast. You'll find loads there. And if you want to know which ones to use, again, email me on the previous email what I told you about. feedback@personaldevelopmentunplugged.com. Yeah, I nearly forgot it. And having done all of that, if you would, why don't you pick a new behaviour? And a new behaviour is an emotion and a belief that says, do you know what? It's so good to share this information. It is, I can feel so wonderful and connected when I share this. And my behaviour is to share this episode, this podcast with everyone I know, and I'm going to subscribe and follow. There you go. That would be pretty good to just practice. Anyway, I don't know where I'm going. I do know where I'm going. I'm going for a cup of coffee. Have fun, more fun than you can stand. Wallow in wonderful joy, happiness and love, and getting soppy. It's time to fly, my friend. Bye-bye.
Warning, you are now leaving the unplugged mind of Paul Clough. It's time to fly on your own. Be brave, my friend.
Personal Development Unplugged.